Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turing Test Podcast. I'm Jamie, and today we're diving into a topic that's kind of controversial and, to be honest, pretty intense: AI in warfare. With me is Rachel, who, as always, has some strong opinions. How's it going, Rachel?
Oh, Jamie, just another day in the dystopian future we're hurtling towards. Seriously, though, this topic is really something. AI in warfare? It's like, are we trying to make Terminator a reality or what?
Yeah, it does sound like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but let's break it down for our listeners. So AI, specifically these generative pre-trained transformers, or GPTs, are being integrated into military systems. We're talking drones, autonomous vehicles, and even decision-making processes. What's your take on this, Rachel?
Well, Jamie, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, AI could potentially make warfare less lethal by using drones instead of human soldiers. But on the other hand, the idea of machines making life and death decisions is, frankly, terrifying. It's like giving a toddler a loaded gun and hoping for the best.
That's a pretty vivid analogy. But, some people argue that AI can actually enhance deterrence. Like if every major power has these super advanced AI systems, wouldn't that make them think twice before starting a war?
Oh, come on, Jamie. That's the same logic as the nuclear deterrence theory, mutually assured destruction. And look where that got us. We're still living under the shadow of potential nuclear annihilation. Adding AI into the mix just speeds up the decision-making process, which is, not necessarily a good thing.
Fair point. But let's talk about the practical aspects. The U.S. Defense Department is already experimenting with AI bots that can fly modified F-16 fighter jets. Russia's testing autonomous tanks. And China's rushing to roll out its own AI-run systems. Are we just supposed to sit back and let other countries get ahead?
That's the problem, isn't it? It's a classic arms race. Everyone's rushing to develop these technologies without fully understanding the risks. It's like we're all on a speeding train with no brakes, heading towards a cliff.
Yeah, and it's not just about the technology itself. There's also the issue of public perception. People are understandably freaked out by the idea of autonomous weapons. How do you think governments can address this?
Well, for starters, they need to be transparent. There should be public debates and actual democratic oversight. The public needs to understand what these technologies are capable of and what the risks are. And honestly, there should be international agreements to regulate the use of AI in warfare.
Agreed, but let's get into some specifics. One of the most ambitious programs right now is the U.S. Air Force's Next Generation Air Dominance Program. They're working on deploying around 1,000 drone wingmen to operate alongside 200 piloted planes. Douglas Shaw from the Nuclear Threat Initiative said he can easily imagine a future where drones outnumber human soldiers. What do you think about that?
I think it's a nightmare waiting to happen. Sure, it sounds efficient, but what happens when these drones malfunction or get hacked? We're talking about machines that can literally kill people. And let's not forget, AI isn't infallible. It can make mistakes, and in warfare, mistakes can be catastrophic.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of mistakes, Herbert Lin from Stanford University pointed out that decision makers could start relying too much on AI for strategic and tactical assessments, even in nuclear scenarios. That's like a whole new level of scary, right? Before we continue, just a quick shout out to Augmented AI, the producer of the Turing Test podcast. Augmented AI hosts a variety of cutting-edge courses in generative AI, large language models, edge AI, robotics, and computer vision. You can get a free generative AI course at bit.ly/Turing Test podcast or go to www.augmentedstartups.com.
Absolutely. The idea that AI could be involved in nuclear decision-making is insane. We're talking about reducing the decision-making window from hours or days to just minutes. One wrong move, one misinterpretation, and we could be looking at an accidental nuclear war. James Johnson from the University of Aberdeen even wrote a book about it, AI and the Bomb, where he imagines an accidental nuclear war in 2025 precipitated by AI-driven intelligence. It's not just fiction, it's a real possibility.
Yeah, and it's not just nuclear war. The Arms Control Association published a report saying that AI and other new technologies like hypersonic missiles could blur the lines between conventional and nuclear attacks. It's like we're opening Pandora's box here.
Exactly. And the scary part is, the pace of developing these technologies is way faster than the efforts to assess the risks and establish limits. We're like running before we can walk. It's essential to slow down and carefully weigh the risks. But, governments are always in a rush to weaponize new tech. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, and the U.S. Defense Department did update its directive on AI and weapons, saying that some human judgment must be used. But they're still experimenting with AI to integrate decision-making across all service branches. It's, like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah. And with the Biden administration cracking down on high-tech exports to China, especially advanced semiconductors, the Pentagon's likely to accelerate its AI efforts even more. It's a classic case of aspiration versus reality. They want to be ambitious, safe, responsible. But the reality is far from that.
So, Rachel, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that AI in warfare is ethical and legal?
Well, first off, there needs to be a global framework. International agreements that set clear boundaries on the use of AI in warfare. Secondly, there should be robust oversight mechanisms. Governments can't just be left to their own devices. And finally, there needs to be a public understanding and democratic endorsement. People need to know what's going on and have a say in it.
Yeah, and speaking of public understanding, how do you think we can increase that? I mean, most people don't even know what GPT is, let alone its implications in warfare.
Education is key. There should be public awareness campaigns, and the media needs to do a better job of explaining these technologies in layman's terms. Podcasts like ours can help too by breaking down these complex issues and making them accessible to everyone.
Well, we're doing our part, I guess. But let's talk about something a bit more current. Recently, there was a speculative report about AI being used in Ukraine. Apparently, both sides are using AI for everything from reconnaissance to targeting. What do you make of that?
It's a grim reminder that this isn't just theoretical. AI is already being used in real conflicts, and it's not just Ukraine. Look at the Middle East. Armed drones are becoming increasingly common. It's a slippery slope, and we're already sliding down it.
Yeah, and speaking of slippery slopes, there's also the issue of deepfakes and misinformation. AI can create incredibly realistic fake videos, and that can be used for false flag operations or to incite violence. It's like, where do we draw the line?
Exactly. The potential for misuse is enormous. Deepfakes can be used to manipulate public opinion, create chaos, and even justify military actions. It's a Pandora's box, and once it's open, it's hard to close.
So, Rachel, what's the bottom line here? Should AI be used in warfare, or is it just too risky?
It's a tough question, Jamie. On one hand, AI has the potential to save lives by reducing the need for human soldiers. But on the other hand, the risks are immense. The technology is moving faster than our ability to regulate it. So, until we have robust safeguards in place, I think we need to proceed with extreme caution.
Yeah, I guess that's the best we can hope for right now. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Turing Test podcast. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into the world of AI. Stay safe out there.
Remember, just because we can do something with AI doesn't mean we should. And lastly, don't forget to check out Augmented AI University to upgrade your skills and become an AI expert fast. Go to bit.ly/Turing Test Podcast to enroll in your free cutting-edge AI course. See you next time, folks.